how intriguing it is that a small European country, known worldwide for its chocolates and snowy mountains, holds one of the greatest secrets of the global economy, one of the highest concentrations of billionaires on the planet. Switzerland, with just over 8 million inhabitants, has 1 billionaire for every 80,000 people, according to the Credit Suisse Global Wealth Report of 2022. This places the nation in third place globally in terms of billionaire density, behind only Luxembourg and Hong Kong. But why is so much money concentrated in such a small territory? The average net worth of each Swiss resident surpasses $700,000, according to the same Credit Suisse report, overtaking countries such as the United States and Hong Kong. It is a striking figure. How can a nation surrounded by mountains, without abundant natural resources like oil or gas, achieve such a level of prosperity? Is this simply the result of political stability and the country's famed international neutrality? Or is there something deeper hidden within Switzerland's economic structure? When examining income distribution, Switzerland has maintained relatively stable inequality levels for decades, much lower than in major economies such as the United States and the United Kingdom, according to data from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development in 2023. Still, we cannot ignore the contrasts between middle-class citizens with solid incomes and a billionaire elite whose fortunes rival the GDP of entire nations. Can this fragile balance be sustained in the long run, or does it conceal social tensions waiting to erupt? It is in this context that Tellnomics invites you to dive beyond cliches. This is not merely about discrete banks and vaults filled with gold, but about a system carefully built over centuries to protect, multiply, and attract wealth. A system that inspires admiration, but also sparks criticism and difficult questions. What truly makes Switzerland the haven of the super-rich? And more importantly, to what extent does this model benefit, or undermine, the rest of society? Among the most powerful names that have called Switzerland home, we find figures who shape entire sectors of the global economy. According to Forbes' list of 2022, the country hosted approximately 110 billionaires, with a combined fortune exceeding $338 billion. Among them is Gerard Wertheimer, co-owner of Chanel, whose presence links discreet Zurich to the glamorous world of Parisian luxury. Also on the list are the heirs of Ingvar Kamprad, founder of IKEA, proving that even empires built on furniture see Switzerland as a safe harbor. And we cannot forget the shareholders of Roche, the pharmaceutical giant that alone generated more than $60 billion in revenue in 2023, according to the company's own report. These examples are not just curiosities. They reveal how different industries, from luxury to healthcare, from industrial design to fashion, find in Switzerland something other nations cannot offer. Political stability? Yes. A strong currency? Certainly. But above all, predictability. In a world where economic crises multiply and governments can change tax policies overnight, billionaires look for places that guarantee not only financial returns, but also peace of mind for their fortunes. And this raises the inevitable question: can such a small country truly bear the weight of being the vault of the world's super-rich? Meanwhile, for ordinary citizens, hearing that they live in a nation with so many billionaires can feel distant, almost unreal. How many of us have ever met a billionaire face-to-face? Most people might know a millionaire, but a billionaire? They inhabit another universe. This contrast creates a silent tension. On one hand, national pride fueled by the image of prosperity. On the other, the doubt of whether this extreme wealth translates into collective benefits or remains locked away in inaccessible glass towers. And this is where Tellnomics steps in, to transform numbers into stories, statistics into tangible realities. When we discover that the wealth of Swiss billionaires equaled nearly half of the country's GDP in 2022, according to the World Bank, we are forced to reflect. Are we witnessing an economic miracle or a hidden social risk? If you want to keep uncovering these hidden truths and understand how colossal fortunes shape not only countries, but also the lives of ordinary people, subscribe now to Tellnomics, activate the notification bell, and leave your like. Behind the glitter of Swiss billionaires lies a less visible yet absolutely decisive mechanism: the tax system. Unlike most developed countries, Switzerland does not levy capital gains tax on financial assets. This means that when an investor sells stocks or bonds for a profit, that gain is not taxed. For individuals who build their fortunes on business equity, this detail represents a colossal advantage. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, only a handful of countries in the world maintain similar policies, making Switzerland a magnetic hub for vast fortunes. But there is another key component: the wealth tax. Yes, it exists, but it is low, ranging from 0.1% to 1.1% of net worth. According to data from the Swiss Federal Tax Administration in 2023, this tax is administered in a decentralized way by the country's 26 cantons. This decentralization creates a unique phenomenon: internal tax competition. Cantons like Zug, known for its low rates, attract great fortunes, while others balance taxation to fund local services. This dynamic has fueled a silent rivalry within Switzerland's own borders. Here emerges an intriguing micro-conflict. To what extent does this competition between cantons strengthen the national economy or threaten social equity? On one hand, attracting fortunes ensures revenue. On the other, it can generate regional distortions and increase cities' dependence on foreign capital. Martin Buehler, head of finance in the canton of Graubünden, stated in an interview with CNBC in 2022 that this structure is essential to maintaining global competitiveness, but also requires balance to avoid excesses. And the issue extends beyond Switzerland's borders. In an international landscape where many countries are seeking to tax large fortunes to tackle social crises, Switzerland remains firm in preserving its attractiveness for the super-rich. This stance puts the country at odds with the global trend toward heavier scrutiny and redistribution. Are we looking at a model that defies the international system, or at a fiscal fortress on the verge of being challenged by the world's major powers? Have you ever wondered why the Swiss franc is regarded as one of the safest assets on the planet? It is no coincidence. Over the past decades, this currency has followed a steady path of appreciation, even reaching parity with the euro in 2015, according to data from the European Central Bank, while remaining stable against the US dollar. For global investors, this resilience means predictability in an increasingly volatile financial world. While other currencies suffer sharp devaluations during times of crisis, the Swiss franc serves as a safe haven, attracting capital in search of shelter. This phenomenon is not disconnected from the country's political reality. Switzerland's long-standing neutrality, combined with institutional stability and a robust legal system, has created an environment of trust that directly reflects on its currency. Investors know they do not have to fear aggressive monetary policies, hyperinflation, or sudden shifts in government. Yet a strong currency brings a paradox. On one hand, it reduces the cost of imports and secures purchasing power for citizens. On the other, it makes exports more expensive, reducing competitiveness for traditional industries. And here lies a pressing question: how can such a small nation manage to balance this paradox? According to the Swiss National Bank, in 2023, exports of pharmaceutical and chemical products accounted for more than 50% of total foreign sales, offsetting the challenges faced by industries such as watchmaking and food production. This demonstrates that the strength of the Swiss franc, rather than being an insurmountable barrier, forced the economy to specialize in high value-added goods capable of sustaining premium prices. But how sustainable is this strategy? In a world where supply chains are increasingly fragile and trade disputes are intensifying, depending on a strong currency may become a risk. The Swiss franc is, without doubt, a symbol of stability. But could it also be a silent trap for the future of Switzerland's economy? Few countries in the world have managed to turn their geography and reputation into such an influential business stage as Switzerland. Zurich and Geneva are not just charming alpine cities. They are global financial hubs where trillions of dollars circulate daily through wealth management and investment services. According to the Swiss Bankers Association, in 2023, Swiss banks managed around $2.4 trillion in foreign assets, consolidating the nation as the world leader in international wealth management. This means that nearly 1/4 of all capital managed outside its country of origin is entrusted to Swiss institutions. But Switzerland's strength goes beyond banking. The country is also home to pharmaceutical giants like Novartis and Roche, which together reported revenues of more than $120 billion in 2023, according to official company reports. Moreover, the World Economic Forum, held annually in Davos, transformed Switzerland into the epicenter of global debates. Political leaders, business executives, and thinkers gather in this small alpine village to discuss the future of the economy, climate, and international politics. What other nation can combine political neutrality, financial discretion, and a central role in strategic discussions of this magnitude? However, such prestige casts shadows. Switzerland's banking system, once renowned for its ironclad secrecy in the 20th century, faced heavy criticism after the financial crisis of 2008 and was forced to adapt to new transparency standards imposed by international organizations. This shift raised an uncomfortable question. Did Switzerland thrive by offering discretion to capital that sought not only protection, but also tax anonymity? And if so, to what extent can this model survive in a world increasingly committed to oversight? This delicate balance between tradition and adaptation keeps Switzerland at the core of global economic geopolitics. Yet the question remains, can the country sustain this role amid mounting international pressure and the rise of global inequality? In a world defined by extreme contrasts, Switzerland mirrors the global tensions surrounding wealth and inequality. While its billionaires accumulate fortunes worth hundreds of billions of dollars, millions of people elsewhere face the burden of inflation and the cost of living crisis. According to an Oxfam report published in 2024, the 5 richest men in the world more than doubled their wealth since 2020, reaching approximately $869 billion, while around 5 billion people became poorer in the same period. This disparity is a stark reminder of how capital continues to concentrate in the hands of a few. In Switzerland, this reality plays out on a smaller but equally striking scale. The presence of more than 100 billionaires in such a small country creates a sense of distance between the global elite and ordinary citizens. Most people may never meet a billionaire face to face, and that raises an uncomfortable question. To what extent does the wealth of the few contribute to the well-being of the many? The risk is that fascination with stability and luxury coexists with an undercurrent of social discontent, even if silent. Still, Switzerland is far from an example of chaos or explosive inequality. On the contrary, the country maintains high levels of quality of life and social cohesion, suggesting that its political and economic framework can balance extremes to some degree. Yet this harmony does not erase the tension. In times of global crisis, will the patience of the less wealthy endure in the face of the increasingly visible ostentation of the ultra-rich? These questions are not merely rhetorical. They strike at the core of the global debate on economic justice. Switzerland, while celebrated as a model of prosperity, is also targeted by international criticism, especially as governments worldwide move to tax the super-rich more heavily to address growing inequality. In this scenario, the country faces a crucial choice. Will it remain the preferred refuge of great fortunes, or will it seek new ways to redistribute its prosperity? The question remains, how does Switzerland manage to balance one of the highest concentrations of billionaires in the world with some of the highest living standards for its general population? The answer lies in a social model that combines an inclusive labor market, accessible education, and solid labor policies. According to the United Nations Human Development Index of 2023, Switzerland ranked at the very top of the global list, reflecting a system that ensures high living standards even for those who are not among the wealthiest. This shows that, despite contrasts, the country has built a structure that protects social cohesion. One of the keys lies in its education system, which emphasizes technical training and rapid integration into the labor market. This model reduces inequality and keeps unemployment low. In 2023, Switzerland's unemployment rate stood at just 2.2%, according to the International Monetary Fund, one of the lowest in the world. This balance allows even citizens with modest incomes to enjoy access to quality services and a standard of living envied worldwide. Yet a latent contradiction remains. How long can this equilibrium withstand international pressure for greater taxation of the super-rich and the sweeping transformations of the global economy? Inequality may be less visible on Swiss streets, but the tensions that have already exploded in other countries are knocking at the door. The challenge will be to maintain the image of a stable paradise without isolating itself from the calls for change growing worldwide. The Swiss experience demonstrates that it is possible to live with extremes of wealth without breaking social harmony, but it also exposes fragilities that may intensify in the face of international crises. After all, is the Swiss model an exportable solution for other nations, or simply a unique case impossible to replicate? Here at Tellnomics, we strive to transform data into reflection. If this deep dive into Switzerland made you think differently about the future of the global economy, subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for following this episode, and get ready, because the next content will reveal new hidden stories behind the global economy.